Hello and welcome to Gierok Farms. It is currently Father's Day today, to give you guys a date. But today we're going to film a video doing a crop update. We did a couple of these last year. This year is a bit of a different year weather-wise, so we thought we'd do another crop update. But that's the date, so June 18th. Happy late Father's Day to all you fathers out there. Things going. So
make the kids so they can take over.
Yeah.
So the generations.
We were walking through that cornfield that we had some problems with last year, and it got turbo tilled this year. And so this is second year corn. It's looking better than it did last year. I think that we're really impressed with what that vertical tillage did, that turbo tiller did. Really consistent seed bed. But I think with how dry it's been this year, it's been a super dry year. I think we're having some issues there.
So last year, I think, because this was in sod for maybe 8 years before that, and then we really manured it heavy, I think we had some insects that kind of got a hold of some of the plants that when they were quite young. So we had some skips. But then at the end of the year, I know when we picked this, I could just tell only the 6 acres did to fill a crib. That really told the story, because this sod really, it just didn't take off till late. Cold soils and no tilled in. Yeah, now we did the turbo till. I think we got a really good seed bed. And this is such a different year. I mean, we started off, early May there. We started planting.
Yeah, this field was planted first week of May, and then all the bottoms were planted towards the end of May.
Well, it may be more to the mid.
I know there was at least a week and a half, 2 weeks after.
Yeah, we had some rain in there, because we turbo tilled this, and it worked really nice, and it was. So the interesting thing about this spring is all our snowpack soaked in. Then we ended up with another snow that after things had even greened up in like middle of April there, that all soaked in. We ended up with several days of just nice, steady, even. I mean, we were maxed out on moisture. There's no doubt. Subsoil moistures are, water table was up. And I think it's still up. But since we planted our bottoms, which was that mid-May, we got 2/10 of rain. And we're Father's Day already. Yep. And later today they're talking something, but I guess from what we've always had, it's just sprinkles and
yep.
Kind of doesn't, it just no more than a good dew.
Yeah, if you guys were keeping track, you know that during first crop there was a system that came through, but we didn't really get anything out of that. And this morning there was kind of a misty sprinkle, but really nothing.
We're at that point with especially with row crops. Really, you don't change nothing anymore. Some of the guys were talking, and we were to a few graduations. That seemed to be the whole topic around here, because it's all farmers of, guys are talking, maybe I shouldn't even bother spraying those beans if it don't rain, because it's just throwing money at nothing. Yeah. And our agronomy, like our fertilizers and limes and stuff, you were just talking, they're going to be here next year. If the rain doesn't get this crop to do what it's supposed to do, that'll all kick in next year.
Yeah, all your potash and your phosphorus, all that, we'll have a bumper crop next year.
It's whatever. Just, or whenever the weather does something.
Does come back.
So with us, it's about feeding these cows. And we're already looking into buying hay. They claim North Dakota's in pretty good shape. South Dakota's still drier.
But I think, the Midwest as a whole is fairly dry this year.
Yeah, and I got a feeling, so even if we get rain later today, unless we kind of get a whole different weather system where weeks start giving us thunderstorms, I got a feeling that feed for cattle is going to get pretty tight. And the milk price does not reflect what we got to pay for it. So right now the price is about what it was last year for hay.
Probably going to buy hay early this year.
Just looking into it, starting to get some things. Because, our second crop, well, so we made our first crop, the last few days of May, first couple days of June, we chopped and everything. And that was our 60 acres of all our alfalfa fields, all our more good cow hay fields, and then we baled our stuff after that. But typically around the 10th of July, I like to go after the second crop, because we like to see some blossoms, because we like to try bale it. And this year that stuff ain't even 10 inches high in places.
Before we get too away from the fertilizer thing, it popped in my head when we were talking. I know in my off-the-farm job, there's a lot of guys holding back on side dressing or putting on any late season nitrogen or early season nitrogen, going over the top of the corn with nitrogen, because nitrogen is one of them fertilizers that won't stick around.
It won't,
especially synthetic. So that's something where the drought, that's another thing along with the spraying where guys are debating if it's even worth going out there, because they don't want to throw money away.
What I'm thinking is, we do that cover crop in the fall. before we get to that point. Like, I don't believe our spray's kicked in yet. We got a little residual with the one product. I noticed it burned down some of the grass that was coming in this field. That was from our spray video. And then, then after about 2 weeks after that, and it's starting to green up in places again. And it takes rain to activate those. And we had no rain to activate them. So let's say our rain comes late, it activates it late. Now that residual will be affecting our cover crop possibly. It's like, it's hard to say how that's going to go over.
Yep. So for those of you that aren't familiar with chemicals and agriculture and how all that works, when Dad's saying residual, that means chemical that's going to hang out and stay put for a while. That's meant to be a long-term type chemical program versus like Roundup. That's right when it makes contact, and then it's killing the plant right away.
Once the plant dies, it does nothing after.
But then the residual is to give you a bit of time for your crop to get to canopy and take care of any of those lingering weeds that pop up later after you spray. And you need water, like Dad was saying, to activate those. So I know that's another thing with my off-the-farm job. I've seen a lot of guys that are having to go respray with a contact product like Roundup because their residuals didn't do what they wanted to. And residuals are expensive, so then they lost out on that money. The weather it's a crazy game.
Weather it's everything, and it no matter what time of the year it is. Everything in our life that we do revolves around our weather. We don't just go in our house and shut the door and get at our job.
Yep.
When the weather is the worst, we're out in it even more.
Yep.
But then when it comes to the crops, you're always looking at the sky and you're debating, what are you gonna make hay? You're gonna wait, or is it too wet to do this? We're gonna go do that instead.
Yep. Or like planting corn this year, it seemed like the guys that planted early, it worked out better for them because there was plenty of moisture to germinate, and some guys didn't get the germination they wanted because they waited. But other years, if you planted early, your corn might have got a frost on it, or might have been too cold, sat in the ground too long, and then the guy that planted real late had a better punch.
Like maybe we should have got earlier, or maybe we should have waited. Well, I had a couple fields that were quite wet yet. Maybe we should get this done. There was forecasts for rain again. May not get much better until after late May. So then it didn't rain, and then your soil's a little lumpy, and you're kind of like, but now it's almost like that was probably better because I had a lot of moisture.
Yep. Yeah, the bottoms are beautiful. Maybe we can go down there towards the end of the video, but
I would like to know, some of you older guys, I'm sure you went through some years. I remember 88. I was probably a teenager in 88 where, fresh out of high school kind of more, where I remember that being a real dry year. And the corn froze on Father's Day. We had corn that was taller than this. I had it cultivated. We had a 2-row cultivator. I did a lot of cultivating back then too. And it was in some heavy bottoms. And the weed control was very poor. My dad was like, some of it we cultivated even twice. And then I remember we were mowing hay up on a hillside, and looking down over that field, I thought it's turning kind of a really dark green. And I thought, is it my eyes, or is it just the way the sun is hitting it? I was young yet. And later that day, my dad, was already kind of looking. He said, I think that corn froze last night. So we ended up where the corn companies back then would give you some corn, kind of like an insurance thing, where they give you a few bags to replant. And we were debating, it's late. We replanted that with some, I don't know, maybe 85-day corn or something. That was one of the best crops we've ever had in those fields. It came back just super, and it grew like a weed. It was hot, but those were heavy peat moss bottoms.
Yeah,
and the weed control was almost perfect because, again, we dug it, and I think we got our sprays incorporated in better since, So you didn't know, but that made beautiful silage, didn't make any kind of grain,
But then on a normal year, that probably would have been waterlogged.
Oh, heck. So got to debate that. We're going to go right back through. And we didn't put no fertilizer on the second round or nothing. But again, that year, I think the corn got a better start as far as it germinating, and the roots went in and got going, and we got heavy soils around here. So the corn did super. After first crop hay, we virtually got nothing. All the pastures went dormant, and we had late June, all of July, and a good chunk of August. It was virtually nothing. And every day almost 95 to 100 degrees and windy.
Yep.
So it's just a different type of drought we're in.
That's this field looks a lot better than last year, but I think we didn't quite get the moisture or the germination we wanted. But we're going to keep working our way up the hill. We're going to check out our new seeding and our oats, and then we'll get a better look at our strips of hay here. So working our way up the hill here, just looking at the difference between our alfalfa versus our grass. The alfalfa came off that end of May, early June, and then this grass strip came off
2 weeks ago, maybe around the
10th of June.
Yeah, and well, even a little before that, but there's virtually nothing here. So typically right here, we'd put electric fence and then grazed it. There's nothing here. It looks like a wheat field that was took off, you know, I mean, unless we get a shot of rain, I don't know. And then even trying to get those electric fence posts, and we might have to use concrete bits to drill our holes. And because there's a few spots along the trees over there where we didn't get the hay that the cows could utilize some of that.
But yeah, so this is pretty much all grass, a lot of native grasses, a lot of stuff like.
It's never been rotated. It's just super steep. You know, our suicide hill, you know. So.
Yep. And then this bottom strip is alfalfa grass mix, and we were talking on the way up here. You guys can even see it on some of our sandier knolls where it rolls up, so the hilltops, where maybe the alfalfa didn't seed as well or get established as well, and you can see where that grass would have been isn't coming back.
The alfalfa's got a deep rut. I've heard stories where they found roots up to 30 feet deep. This stuff might have been planted on a year where we had a lot more rain, so the root don't go in as deep right away. So typically, I'm really curious how our new seeding is going to be like next year. So we got this dry year. Those little plants are just, them roots are trying to go for water, because water will drive roots. And when they go get water that deep, then whatever nutrients are way down there, they can grab that too if they need it later on. You get a wet year, that everything stays shallow. And then all of a sudden it gets dry. Now the root isn't there yet. It will go, but it'll take a while. So in '88, I remember the old timers saying that they took the oats off and they're looking at that field and there was nothing. There was nothing there. They thought they were probably going to have to replant that. In the next spring, we did get rains, and they said it was the most beautiful alfalfa crop they've ever would ask for. It just goes dormant. So that's little blessings in disguise. You know, you didn't get it the one year, but then it gave you a nice punch. And I noticed up there, like last year when we had all the rains, the oats lodged up some and stuff. You know, I've seen a lot better new seeding stands than that. It's not bad, but I mean, usually a drier year will give you a better stand in the future.
Yeah. We were talking too before we started the video. We know in some of the western states where it's really dry all the time, and them guys are used to that, where they have some pieces that they just let it go idle for a year, and maybe a dry year like this might do that for a field like this, where next year it will come back even better.
Yeah, I think that's so. We're going to be you know, starting to deplete our reservoir with feed. You know, so then you're only hoping you're going to make up for it in the future. But there's no guarantees. You can get, you know, what says we get in 2 dry years in a row? You don't know.
Okay, so now we're in the oats and we're looking things over, and it's not looking too bad up here.
So you look at how cracked up the ground is. There was one heavy rain on this oats after we seeded it, and then after that was those soaking rains. But you see, so the alfalfa's going right, it's there, even though the ground looks like a desert. And the oats, I don't know, we were watching our dogs run around in here. You can tell that the height is, you know, we're talking a good 16 inches for as dry as it is. I mean, this might make some green yet, or something more than just nothing. Because I thought if it was too bad, we'd have cut it and baled it possibly, but no, you gotta just wait and see. But it's clean, ain't it? It looks pretty even. No, this ain't too bad. I'm kind of happy to see this, because just like I said, I think oats, and like you said, small grains will do better in a more of a drought conditions than a wet. You know, corn now needs heat and water, humidity and water now that it's up and trying to do something.
Yeah, so we might get a really good oat crop out of this.
And
year.
This is certified seed. I don't put certified seed in every year, maybe once every 6-8 years.
Yeah.
And it's looking good. But the nice thing to see the alfalfa actually in there. And there's grasses in here too, so I'm gonna guess that the grasses may do nothing. They may not come back.
Yeah, this might be a pure alfalfa stand.
And I've seen it too, where I used to put the grass in the oats box, and you could see that grass growing in the oats, you know, because it was a wet year when it got put in. Then the grass becomes down.
Okay, so now we made our way over to our no-till corn. This field hay for what, 6-8 years?
Yeah.
This was a hay.
Grass.
Yeah, this was a hay stand that all the alfalfa was already gone, and it was mainly grass, and it needed to be rotated, and this was the year.
That seed looks like it just fell out of the box yesterday. Now, there looks like most of them are germinated, but this one just probably happened to be a little on the shallower side, and it didn't do anything, and that's big talk. I've noticed where you, like, there's a couple places in the bottom there where it was real lumpy on the other end. I thought there's a little skip there, and you're digging around and you find them seeds, they look like they just didn't get water.
Yep. This is definitely a year where if you didn't have a planter that was getting good consistent seed depth, you definitely got exposed this year because of the lack of moisture when a lot of guys were planting. Or if you got good planting, conditions right away after planting, it kind of makes up for that.
So here, I put like a half a bag of lime in each one of those bug boxes in the backs, which we don't use that product anymore, but we for weight to help
down pressure.
And then I drove slower, and we did set it, instead of my 900 being setting at like the number 6, I set it at number 10. Because I had a neighbor that had a planter like that, and that's what they would do. They would set it heavier and make sure it puts it down there. And then you get, because this was quite damp yet, so it knifed it in nice. But that I don't know how I happened to come across that seed, because when you look at it, the plants are here.
For those of you that don't know about corn and row crops, for dry conditions or sandy soils, you want to be on the deeper side. You want to be closer to that 3 inches.
This year, like I said, there was moisture when we planted, so you don't want to put it any deeper than you have to. You want to get it so be sure it gets out of the ground. But if you had a little bit of that crystal ball of what really going to happen.
Yeah, if a guy would have known, he would have planted everything right away. That first week of May, he would have just like shoved it all on the ground. And
even then, I mean, that would have been risky. We still have to do what the odds are.
Yep.
You know, we still have to do what
you have to spread your risk out.
Yeah, always. And that's just it.
But it still ain't looking too bad. It's
no, and
it's
the weed
coming.
control is looking decent here. I know on the bottoms there's a few places some grasses are coming and stuff, but they don't seem to be affecting the corn yet.
Yep.
So I think if we get some rain now, it's just about canopy down there, and that's gonna probably save it.
And this too, the no-till, at least we've noticed on that piece on the hill last year, once it did canopy and it was a drier summer, then it really took off.
Yeah.
Because it was able to retain a lot of moisture, and then like we were saying with the roots, had to go a lot deeper, and it tapped into the nutrients that it.
And that's what it was in all them wet years. The roots didn't go down, and we had everything put in there. But we had heavy rains, and all our nitrogens and stuff got below that root.
There you go. That's a look at our no-till. Let's make our way down to the bottoms and see how those are doing. So we're down here on our bottoms, and this by far is looking the best, most consistent stand, and the weeds aren't looking too bad. You can definitely tell the residuals weren't able to do their thing, but Dad, he's been digging here a little bit. And
it feels damp, even though the surface is just powder. That's just powder. So again, when your corn got started, and this is almost canopied, we get ourselves a ½ inch of rain or something just to get this little boost. This is gonna be okay. I know that in '88 too, all them bottoms did good. It was the hills and the high knobs and stuff burned up to nothing.
That's the nice thing about our farm, is the variety of land and soil. That
there's moisture down in yet. It just needs to get them roots down there.
Looking at weeds we got here, we got velvet leaf, and then we have some grasses.
Now you see that taproot on him. You know, he's tough, and I can smell him. My dad always said a cow would die by this. They wouldn't eat this if they, I mean, and this would get like that seed pod or whatever. There's a bunch of them. There was an example where one of the stockyards where we sold cattle, one of the farmers said that he remembers when they put that addition on there and they poured some cement where the steps was or something. And then it had to be over about 35 years later. They dug that up. They were redoing something there, and they had a pile of dirt, because otherwise it was just lawn. You know, this plant did not seed out, and it was a long ways from any road edge or anything. So anyway, that pile of dirt, maybe it was like about 8-10 bucket loads worth of dirt, was solid velvet leaf, which says that seed is so hard. It's like a little BB, and it can lay dormant forever and still. You know, that's the one thing about this guy. You don't go away overnight. And then ain't so stinky if you make corn silage out of it, and they'll grow as tall as the corn. So they kind of give your corn a sour taste. Otherwise, it's just competing with the nutrients.
Yep. The reason they call it velvet leaf is because the leaf feels like velvet.
It is a really soft leaf. Yeah. Again, like I said, it just stinks. I mean, when we were kids, we'd call it kingweed, but that is that rag. See, there's a common rag and a giant rag, and this guy will get too, again, as tall as the corn.
Really nasty, yeah.
And we'd have it in those peat muck bottoms. The sprays couldn't work there. So much organic matter, we didn't get the punch. But this will make silage. You mix this with the corn, it ain't really appealing, but they would eat it, and it wouldn't necessarily make your feed bad.
Since we're on the weed topic, this is pigweed here, I believe, or water hemp.
And look at the taproot on him again. You know, he's going down, and he looks as healthy as can be because of that, because this root is down there.
So that's what the bottoms are looking like. We're gonna make our way back up to the yard, and we'll maybe chat once more here before we end off the video. That's our corn on corn ground that had some cover crop on it last fall and this early spring.
Here's
some rye.
You know, you'll see a plant here and there, and that was the other thing. That rye was pretty tall.
All right, so we're back up in the yard here, and we're gonna end off the video. We want to ask you guys how it's going in your area. We hope you guys are getting the weather that you want. I know a lot of people are fighting this dry weather, but leave comments down below what it's doing in your neck of the woods. Might save on the lawnmower blades this year, I guess. And then any of you farmers that are used to farming drier climates or farming, you know, sandier soil, let us know what kind of varieties of corn you use, or even if there's a special type of alfalfa to use or things like that. We'd be interested to hear about it. But all in all, still grateful that there's something here. There's still a crop, and there's still a good chance that we're going to get something out of it.
So now I haven't walked the fields until today. We drive by and kind of look. It's almost depressing sometimes. It's almost like you don't want to know. Just can't change it anyway. But I gotta say, I'm impressed with the oats. I think, I mean, it ain't there yet, but I think there's enough of a plant there. And in the straw, I know in '88 too, we fed the straw to the heifers along with corn silage. So there's a little hope of getting some better value out of that, being it's so dry. I'm really thinking that's going to be quite the catch there. The grass we put in may not even be there at all.
Thank you all for watching. Thank you for sticking to the end. And like I was saying, make sure to leave plenty of comments. And we wish you all the best in your area and whatever you got going on. So we'll see you next time.